Story from Russia now. There are now tougher penalties for unruly behaviour at sporting events in the country. President Putin's tightened the law on punishment. Kate Partridge is across it. Hi, Kate.
Hi,
so, what's being brought into law here?
So basically what they're going to do for any wrongdoing at sporting events, but effectively they're targeting football matches here in light of the fact it's going to be the World Cup next year in Russia, and also the Confederations Cup, which is coming up, which is almost like the dress rehearsal coming up this summer as well, the big football tournament. So what they're going to do, they're going to hit wrongdoers with money, matches and liberty. Effectively in money, in terms of fines, we're looking at anything from 20 up to 50,000 rubles, which is something like about £300, $333, or going up to 50,000 if there's any wrongdoing, if they threaten anybody's health, if they threaten anybody's liberty, if there's any sort of damage, that kind of thing, going upwards depending on what they do. Also in terms of matches, that you could be looking at bans here as well. So any fans that are caught with any kind of violence or threatening behaviour, you're looking at anything from 1 to 7 year bans as well, which really attacks a fan if they really want to go and see their teams or their country. And also in terms of liberty too, if you really are transgressing, you could face time in jail and anything up to 15 days. So real harsh penalties here.
And this is much tougher than what it's been previously, yeah?
Absolutely, and the idea is that not only is it meant to be a deterrent, but it's also meant to encourage foreign fans coming over for the World Cup. I mean, as we've been hearing before, we've seen plenty of stories, a bit of a scare stories really in the mainstream media, particularly in the West, saying, be careful of coming to Russia, you know, it's dangerous. We've heard about hooliganism. And this is really to effectively show, please, you know, please do come. We're encouraging fans to come to the World Cup. I mean, looking at some of those programmes, I'm sure you remember BBC Two, British broadcaster, they had a programme back in February called Russia's Hooligan Army, effectively showing not just the ultras, the football hooligans and how organised they were, but also the fact, implying that it was a new generation of Russian men coming forward who really enjoy that kind of behaviour. It was a generational thing coming through. And also a month later in the Daily Mirror as well, I think you probably remember the pictures here. Absolutely. The article was all about, with this big inflammatory headline of warning the English fans they could be killed if they visit Russia last year, but you remember the pictures?
It's a sensational shot, but the backstory was, actually it was a pancake day, a bit
exactly.
of rough and tumble.
It was a bit of rough and tumble. The pictures were from Pancake Day, with the old jousting, the traditional jousting, but the article itself was from a guy called Mavrin, who was an ultra, and he was sort of explaining what was going on in the footballing background, but he says now that his words were taken out of context.
All my words were translated correctly. However, some phrases were taken out of context and presented in a more gloomy way. In reality, I said that I witnessed clashes in Marseille. We talked about it, and apparently they caught some phrases and used it in an article. I don't know why they are fueling this situation.
One final thing to sort of pick up here then, Kev, is the fact that not only are these laws meant to encourage the foreign fans and say, look, Russia is very organised, it's very safe, you'll have a great time, but also to discourage any foreigners that come over and make any trouble as well, because they'll be subject to the same laws.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, just clarify, do these laws only apply to Russians, or do they apply to the visiting fans as well?
It's for everybody coming in as well, so you can be deported, you can also face imprisonment. In fact, they're going to look at the two and say, really, if you cause any trouble, these are going to apply to you. But the idea is that everybody's meant to come over, it's going to be safe, play well, play safe, have a great time.
Yeah, OK. All right, thanks for the update there. A German official is warning that the EU must slam its doors now on Turkey after a referendum narrowly granted President Erdogan sweeping new powers. His 51% victories led the German Chancellor Angela Merkel, for one, to say that the vote shows how Turkish society is divided. Comment, too, from the German Social Democrat leader Martin Schulz. He tweeted that Erdogan's not come close to uniting Turkey. Same kind of thing from Austria's Foreign Minister, too, saying the EU should now end Turkey's bid to join the bloc. And the French leader Francois Hollande highlighting the split among Turkish citizens. Again, that same message coming through. While the presidential hopeful Emmanuel Macron said that the referendum must not lead to unlimited power. The EU and President Erdogan, though, have increasingly been at loggerheads of late, especially recently over a number of nations refusing to let Turkish officials hold referendum rallies in their countries.
This polarization between Turkey and the Turkish president and the European countries definitely has contributed that President Erdogan got a lot of votes because of this. In particular, the votes coming from European countries, Germany, Belgium, Netherlands, etc. Turkey cannot renounce on Europe, and Europe cannot renounce on Turkey. However, the legitimacy of these elections will be a subject in the coming days between Turkey and the European countries.
So this referendum asked whether people wanted to turn the country from a parliamentary republic into a presidential one, basically. It looks like Recep Erdogan will now have the power to appoint cabinet ministers and judges, to dissolve parliament if he wanted to, and to enact certain laws. The vote heralds one of the biggest changes to the country's system of government in its history. Erdogan supporters say that it's going to help revitalise the nation and make it stronger. But on the other side of it, the critics fear that the reforms could turn the country into a dictatorship. Crowds of people opposed to the changes rallied in Istanbul against Erdogan's victory. The Turkish opposition also complained of irregularities too during the vote. In fact, they're demanding a recount now of up to 60% of the ballots. Professor Hüseyin Batshi told us there's little chance of that happening, though.
It seems that President Erdogan has already won, and I do not expect that this will be changed. My expectation is, of course, that the opposition party will charge this, but it will be not bringing any results, as I know from the Turkish experiences. This result is now accepted by the government and by the president. I do not expect that the opposition charges will bring any success.
RT.com for all our stories right around the clock. If you're not by your TV, I hope you are going to stay by your TV for the next half hour. Great programmes coming out. We're going underground at RT International. And if you're watching in Britain or Ireland, you've got Sophie & Co.